Hello, y'all. It is time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Now, you see Patrick Brackett with me, Charles Taylor, and Patrick. Of course, we have a lot to get to. Y'all see the baseball backgrounds. I got Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers, on mine. And Patrick has, is it Truist Park?
It is Truist Park now. This is an older one because this was when it was SunTrust, but it is Truist Park.
Well, he's got the background of Truist Park, home of the Atlanta Braves, and we have that because we are going to preview the yes.
Can I say something real quick? I do want to say, hey, dog, congratulations to your North Texas freaking college, bro, making it to the NIL Final Four. Or NIT Final Four.
NIT, yeah.
What? Hey, virtual high five, bro.
You do what we can, do what we can.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, whoa. They really that good? I was like, dang. They're losing to Wisconsin.
They were doing
right
their
now.
thing. Well, see, they were doing their thing in the in Conference USA, man. But they got knocked out, I think, by UAB in the semifinals, and they weren't able to make it to the NCAA tournament. But they're showing up in the NIT, so maybe they can carry that on through for next season and get back into the tournament like they were a couple of years ago. They actually beat Purdue.
Yeah. Well, they're only down 5 right now to Wisconsin, so. Oh, hey.
Well,
I just wanted to say that. Congratulations. Because when I saw that, like, yesterday, I was like, oh, 29-7? Where the hell did that come from?
So, before we get back on there, so Dominic, thanks for joining us. Good to see you on there again. And yes, I'm disappointed in Texas too. Patrick's disappointed in Texas because he picked them to win the Final Four. So we're both.
I picked them to win the whole thing.
Yeah, we're
free throws, man.
You see, we're both. We're disappointed with you there, Dominic. But we will talk about that here in a little bit. But before we get to that, I just wanted to say why we were having the baseball backgrounds, and it's because we're going to jump into the Major League Baseball preview after we talk about the Final Four. So we will give our picks, who will win those divisions, who will win the 3 wild cards, and we might go as far as to pick who we think is going to be in the World Series. So we'll see. But yeah, we might. We'll see.
Whoa.
We'll have to see how we feel.
Yeah, let's see how we feel.
but at the very least,
I don't know where I'm at on the World Series yet.
Hey, at the very least, we will have the division winners and the wild card winners from each league. So, but before we get there, Patrick, let's talk about these men's and women's Final Fours. So we'll start with the men here, and no one had this Final Four. I would love to see the person who had this Final Four.
No, there's somebody out there that has this Final Four. I can pull up their bracket on ESPN. I guarantee you somebody has it.
You're going to have to show me because I don't know. But whoever had Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, UConn, and Miami, I want to meet that person. I want to see that bracket. But that is your Final Four for Houston, who is the host for this year's Final Four. And again, look, for the people who say they want chaos, you got it. You got nothing but chaos in there. You have a 9 seed, 2 5 seeds, and a 4 seed as your Final Four there. And for the people who want to say, oh, I love chaos, and then all of a sudden you want the blue bloods when it comes down to the Elite Eight and stuff. Nope, shut up. You wanted chaos, you got chaos. Deal with it.
Here you go.
Let's go.
So I pulled it up on ESPN bracket. Shout out to Dangerous Confirmation because he has those 4. He has UConn winning the national championship, but he has San Diego State, FAU, Miami, and UConn.
Oh, then he done already won the first place.
He's in third.
He's in third.
But he has those 4. And bro, at this point,
wow,
who knows anymore? Who knows?
Good on him, man. Wow.
Yeah.
But Well,
and his score is he has FAU versus UConn. UConn winning 59-43.
Okay, beating who?
FAU.
FAU. Okay.
So
well, gosh, I guess we can go ahead. What's this? We call this our third chance Final Four bracket.
dude, I'm on 7. I don't know about you. I'm on 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Well, Patrick, who do you have winning?
So
since our picks went out, who do you have winning?
So if I'm looking at San Diego State and FAU, okay. So first of all, FAU can score. We see that, right? San Diego State has some crazy defense. Man, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. But I'm gonna roll FAU. I'm gonna roll FAU on that one. And the way that Miami played against Texas, if we get this Miami team, I'm gonna go with Miami. So my new bracket, or I guess my new picks would be FAU versus Miami.
Oh, all Florida final. And who would you have winning that?
Oh God.
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna ask that.
Of course, Patrick, because it's gonna be done before we come back on here.
That's true. I'm gonna. Again, if we get this Miami team that beat Texas, I gotta roll Miami, man. I gotta roll Miami.
Miami hit some very tough shots in the second half of that game. I thought Texas had it. They were up 12, and Miami they hit shots. It wasn't bad defense from Texas. They were hitting fadeaways. They were driving. I mean, they made tough baskets. They earned that. I can't even be mad. I mean, I'm mad that Texas lost, of course, but Miami, but Miami earned it. There was nothing that was soft about that performance from them. They scrapped, they hung in there, and they just went on a run. Come the last 10 minutes of that game. So the Miami pick with you, if you pick any 4 of these teams, you get to this point. Yeah, I mean, it's any one of them can win it. It's difficult. It's going to be a difficult one to pick. For me, well, yeah, I'm gonna go opposite of what you said, man. Now, granted, I would not be surprised to see FAU or Miami move on. I love San Diego State's defense, man. These dudes are big and physical, and the way they stifled Alabama in that Sweet 16 game, I was like, wow, that defense is physical, nasty. It's a contrast to styles. Florida Atlantic, they want to get up and down the court. San Diego State wants to turn it into, well, basically playing into a phone booth. So I think that defense for San Diego State will keep them in it, and they'll get enough offense. But it's going to be close, man. I don't see either of these teams winning by any more than 5 points. I think it's just going to be just one of those scrappy games. But I'll give the edge to San Diego State there. As for Miami and UConn, Miami, if they can stay in the game like they did against Texas, I do like them in a close game. Connecticut hasn't had a close game. Connecticut has blown everybody out.
Yeah,
I mean, they destroyed. Well, Iona in the first round was hanging with them, but they pulled away in the second half. They beat St. Mary's, I think, in the second round. They blew out Arkansas. That was surprising to me. Now, Arkansas doesn't get blown out like that, but UConn beat them by 21, 23 points. And then they walloped Gonzaga. Dude, like, they pulled away in the second half, outscored them by 21 points and won that 82-54. So, I mean, Connecticut has been the best looking team throughout the Final Four. That's one thing I will say. But, man, Miami, I like their coach, Jim Larinaga. I like him. The dude, he just has that. He has that scrappy mentality, man. That fight, and Miami got guard play. We know how we are with guard play. Mm-hmm. You know what? I did say that I would probably disagree with you on both of those teams, but man, Miami kind of made me a believer. I think Miami's gonna pull this one out. So I have a San Diego State Miami final, and
do it. If you're rooting for them that big, you might as well go ahead and do it.
I think I'm gonna pick Miami. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think
I was thinking you might go San Diego.
Nah, man, Miami. Something
Miami
about
made
him.
me a believer in that Texas game too.
Yeah, that guard play, man. That guard play is that's the thing. If you have that good guard play in this tournament, guys who can control the pace, guys who can hit shots, Hack is a shot maker for them. Isaiah Wong, another shot maker. I mean, those guards for Miami are really good, and to beat the Texas pressure like they were doing, yeah, I'm a believer of the Hurricanes. So, I don't do it, Patrick. I'm gonna do it, man. So yeah.
Okay, so I want. Do you? I don't go that far. I'll say the Hurricanes. I ain't putting up that. I ain't putting up that.
Look, I won't do it for football, but for basketball, I'll go ahead and do it.
That's funny, but yeah, dude, that Texas game, they made me a believer. I mean, when they were down by 12, and I was like, "This is looking good. I like this. I like Texas's pressure." But then that last 4, maybe 5 minutes, Texas just couldn't score.
Yeah, they got stagnant on offense.
They got very stagnant on offense, and Carr just kept firing up threes, and I'm like, bro, you've missed 9 or 10 or 11 of them in a row. At some point, build your confidence back up, drive in a little bit, get some good post plays, get something going for your team, then go back to shooting those threes. He just kept firing like.
They got away from the ball movement, and that's what Texas was doing so well. Ball movement, cutting off of those passes. It was hard to defend them, and I guess when things got a little bit tight, when Miami made that run, they went back to hero ball or trying to play hero ball.
And they haven't played that all year.
No.
They haven't played it all year. Got away from what was doing that got them to the championship, and well, you do that, this is what happens. You tend to start packing your bags and go home. And when I saw that, I said the same thing. I was like, well, you might as well pack your bags and go home, because if Carr's just going to shoot like that with 18 seconds left on the clock, I was like, bro, y'all are rushing shots, and he's the only one shooting. Pack your bags and go home. You ain't going to go anywhere.
Oh, man. Well, so there's our pick, man. We both like Miami. And before we move on to the baseball preview, Patrick, shout out to Rodney Terry. He was the interim coach for the Longhorns, and they went ahead and gave him a 5-year deal. So he is the coach. Well deserved. The way he had the team playing, the way those players rallied around him. Mm-hmm. Good on him to get that gig. And I think Texas will be back. They have a lot of players who will be returning, and they're getting good recruits to come in as well. Rodney Terry getting them in there. So maybe Texas could keep a team, and with the NIL and transfer portal also. I mean, it's been a little bit easier to keep a team there instead of the one and dones that was happening. So
yeah.
So good on him for that. Well, here we go, Patrick. Picks. We both got Miami winning this bad boy. We'll see if we're right about that. I know personally I haven't been right about too much of anything in this March Madness, this edition, but hopefully it could start off. Well, Patrick, let's get to the baseball preview. So,
are we not going over the women's bracket?
Oh, thanks for reminding me. Yes, let's go over that women's bracket, man. Oh, all right. Glad you were there with me. I would have just moved on it. Boy, if I was all alone, man, and I said we were going to talk about the women's bracket and I didn't, garbageness on my part.
Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Appreciate it, Patrick. Appreciate it. So about that women's Final Four, like I said, so the men's one is in Houston. The women's one is actually in Dallas. And the 4 teams that are in there are South Carolina. They will play Iowa. And then your other semifinal will be LSU and Virginia Tech.
A little bit more predictable.
Very good teams. Huh?
A little bit more predictable in this bracket.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more chalk on this one. But those 4 teams are good. Look, I I don't see anyone beating South Carolina. I don't. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. South Carolina is a beast of a team. But if any player is capable of going off and maybe carrying them to a win, it is Iowa's Caitlin Clark. And they will face each other in this semifinal. I am so interested to see what Dawn Staley, the South Carolina coach, comes up to try to disrupt Caitlin Clark. She had a 41-point triple-double in the Elite Eight against Louisville on Sunday. I mean, she's
a baller, man.
Yeah, she's like a female Steph Curry right now. She can pull from anywhere and just hit it like nothing. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see what South Carolina comes with. But even so, like, hey, South Carolina has like 3 or 4 Caitlin Clarks. And so, like,
4 or 5 or 7.
Yeah,
you know, they got like 2 Caitlin Clark coming off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. They are so loaded in South Carolina, man. And then that other semifinal with LSU and Virginia Tech. I'm having a little bit tougher time picking this, but I think I'm gonna lean LSU, and I think it will be a all SEC final.
Well, my one of my picks got put out, so I'm still looking pretty good with with my pick. I did have South Carolina in my bracket. I missed one so far, so I had South Carolina, Iowa, LSU, and UConn. That was my final 4. So I missed the Virginia Tech one. But I agree with you. That LSU team is solid. They are, and I think Virginia Tech is a good team, but I don't think they're good enough to beat that LSU team. That LSU team can score. The only team that really has stifled LSU this year was South Carolina, and I think South Carolina beat them by 21, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think Iowa is going to fight probably for the first 3 quarters, but I do see South Carolina's depth really starting to take over around that 3rd quarter, midway through. After they take over, it's all South Carolina at that point. So I'll agree with you. I got South Carolina versus LSU.
Yeah,
and South Carolina winning.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone knocking them off, man. They are just so loaded. Dawn Staley is building an absolute powerhouse there in Columbia, and I don't see anybody really knocking them off. I mean, look, UConn, we'll see next year. They'll get Paige Buchers back, and so she'll be motivated. UConn always has a good recruiting class. LSU is strong. Look like Virginia Tech is going to be there. Shoot, the Ohio State team actually looked pretty good too until they got knocked off by Virginia Tech in the Elite Eight. So, I mean, it's getting a little bit more parity in there, but even still, South Carolina just looks so strong, man. I'm surprised to see them go down.
In depth, man. I mean, like, they can come off and they're not just rotating 6. I mean, this team is rotating 8. And every one of their bench players are just solid players, man. I mean, they're just solid, and they could roll 9 if they want to. But man, they're so solid, man. That team is going to be hard to beat. I have them winning the whole thing, and they have a solid undefeated season for the national championship. So, yeah.
Well, all right, man. Well, shoot, I guess we don't have too much else to add since we both agreeing with South Carolina. So, well, with that, hey, and again, thanks for reminding me about that, Patrick. I know I said it at the beginning, and then here I am about to jump into the baseball preview. You're like, yo, dude, women's Final Four. What you doing, Charles?
Let's do it.
Stop being garbage, Charles. Dang. So thanks for that, man. Bad job by me. Let's get on with the Major League Baseball preview show. So the season starts Thursday, and if you guys follow the show, y'all know we are about doing the previews for all the seasons that happen. So here we are. We're gonna predict or pick who we think is going to win all the divisions and the 3 wild cards, and then we'll see where we're at by season's end. With the Houston Astros being the winner of the World Series last year. Oh, by the way, before we get to that, so hey, you had both sides of the equation here. In Houston, you had the best team in the majors. They played the Philadelphia Phillies, who was the absolute last wild card and made a run to the World Series. So that wild card opens up a lot of stuff. Presented an opportunity for teams like Philly to do something. Of course, San Diego was a wild card too, and they knocked off the New York Mets. And so, I mean, it's just the wild card created a lot of good matchups and created a lot of excitement. And I'm glad that's one of the few things, you know how it is with Major League Baseball and how we feel about their rules and their governing body. That was one of the good things they did, bringing in that extra wild card and turning it into a 3-game series.
Yep.
So
I was fixing to just say that too. You know how I felt about that whole play-in game.
Oh yeah, man. You don't play 162 games and have a play-in game with that, man. Ugh.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
One error causes you to go home. I mean, no.
Yeah, make that a 3-game set, and they did it, and it worked out great. I'm all about it. Good on MLB for doing that. So, with that said, though, Patrick, the Houston Astros were the World Series champs. Since they were the World Series champs, we will start with their division. We will start in the American League West. And just a quick little breakdown before we pick who we feel is going to win this division. The AL West looks to be more competitive than it's been in a long time. In a long time. You have the Seattle Mariners, who did make the playoffs last year, and they got to the divisional series before they did go out to the Astros. But they knocked out the Toronto Blue Jays in the wild card round. The Los Angeles Angels, of course, you know they have two of the best players in the league. They got Shohei Ohtani. They have Mike Trout. We'll see if those guys can stay healthy, but if they can, you figure they have a little bit of a chance. How is the rest of the team going to follow them? And then the Texas Rangers. Did they upgrade this pitching staff or not? I mean, they ran and they got, yeah. I mean, names-wise, on paper, they absolutely did. You get Jacob deGrom to join that staff, and you have Martin Perez coming back. You also got Nathan Eovaldi as well, who can be the number 2. You could push John Gray back to the number 3. And then you have, John Gray could be the number 4. Martin Perez be your number 3. And so you got a really good-looking pitching staff there to go with the lineup if they can get something from the bottom of their lineup. At the top, you know they got Corey Seager, they got Marcus Semien, they got Adolis Garcia. If they can get something from the bottom, and Nathaniel Lowe. If they're able to get the bottom, look out for Texas too. And then you got the Oakland A's, who are just, they're tanking. So with that, Patrick, does anybody knock Houston off in this division?
No. No. Houston is too solid. I mean, look, what did they win? 106, 105, 106, 107 games last year?
Yeah.
They're a solid team. I mean, obviously, I think they got, 1 or 2 injuries from the World Baseball Classic that they have to deal with at the beginning of the season. But,
yeah, Jose Altuve is going to miss some time.
Yeah, 6 weeks? 4 weeks?
About that, yeah.
So you got that. But, I mean, look, he's not going to miss a lot of time. He's going to be coming back ready to play. He's already playing at a high level because he's already had to play what he's been playing against. So he's going to come in ready to rock, and I think he does. So I don't see anybody beating Houston. I got Houston winning this division.
I'm with you, man. Houston's just too loaded. They have a young pitching staff. The lineup is loaded, and they just continue to just reshuffle people in from their farm system. I just said Houston is just too strong. I said Seattle's up and coming. I think Texas is up and coming. We'll see what the Angels bring along with Shohei and Mike Trout. But Houston's just loaded. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win another 100 games for the regular season again. They are just that good. So, with that one, Patrick, since we're in agreement with Houston, let's go to the AL Central. This one might be a little bit more difficult. Now, of course, the Guardians won the division last year, and they gave they took out the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, the ever reliable, just can never count them out Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
And they took the New York Yankees to 5 games in the divisional series. So do the Guardians, do they get enough hitting to go with that pitching? We know their pitching is very solid. So do they get enough hitting to go with it?
They have everybody returning back on the pitching staff.
Yeah, pitching staff looks really strong. And then those other teams, the Minnesota Twins, do the Chicago White Sox, do they make a recovery? Kansas City, they have some young players in there. Probably a little bit too early for them to compete there. And probably the same for the Detroit Tigers as well. They just kind of they have young players in there. Would they be ready to compete with those other 3? That would be the question. Probably not, but we'll see. Nobody I would feel, and I'm pretty sure you'll probably agree with me when I say this, I don't see anybody necessarily running away with that division. But I guess the question, do you see the Guardians repeating as division winners there?
I do. I will say this, huge asterisk. Watch out for those Tigers. The Detroit Tigers, they're a young team, very young, and they are some really good up and coming players. And if you look at some of the players that's on there, a couple of them has came from a couple of farm systems that you may know of. The Boston Red Sox, the Atlanta Braves, and they have one from the Arizona Diamondbacks, which all 3 have fantastic
farm systems. Yeah, the Diamondbacks have a sleeping giant that they're developing.
They do. They have a really good farm system going on in Arizona. So, and they got a couple of players, young players. They still got to be developed, but they are going to be developed in fire. And one of the things I say, especially in baseball, hey, diamonds are made from fire like that. And these kids can play. These kids can definitely play. So I'm going to say, no, I got the Guardians winning. And I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a runaway division, but I will say this. Huge asterisk on those Detroit Tigers. They're coming to play.
I mean, I was back and forth, actually, with 3 of those. I was back and forth with the Guardians, the White Sox, and the Twins. The Twins are scrappy. The White Sox, if they are able to stay healthy, they're good too.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm with you on the Guardians, though. I think I'm gonna agree with you. That pitching for the Guardians is just so loaded.
Yeah,
and I believe their hitting will get better, because what the Indians had was a lot of they had some younger dudes. What they're gonna have to do is develop a little bit more on the power numbers. Not a whole lot. Like, I'm not saying they need to be like the Yankees and just home run strike out this bad boy, but a little bit more pop in there. When they did play the Yankees, they just could not quite get enough hitting. And as good as the Indians pitching is, it wasn't quite on the level of the Astros pitching, which could just literally shut down those Yankees bats. Yeah. With the Indians, they have good pitching, but they made a couple of mistakes, and the Yankees were able to take advantage of it, and that was basically the difference in that series they played. And so if they can get a little bit of hitting to balance that out, then they can make some real noise, more so than they did last year in the playoffs. But I'm with you. I do think they win the division. I wouldn't be surprised if they do take out the Twins and the White Sox by. If that race goes down to the final week of the season, it would not surprise me at all. With those teams, they're pretty neck and neck there.
But the one thing that bothers me about the Twins is, I picked them last year. I picked the Twins to win that.
Mm-hmm. I picked the White Sox last year. So,
and this is what worries me. The Twins have the same exact team. I mean, they might have added a hitter here and a pitcher there, but it's pretty much the same exact team. And they kept crapping on themselves. They just constantly losing games that they should not have lost because of mental errors. Can they overcome those mental errors? I would like to say so, but it's been the same way for the past 2 years. So I'm kind of leery about picking the Twins because the Twins just haven't played good baseball. They have a good team. It's not good baseball that wins consistently. You know what I mean?
They faded away in September of last year.
They did. So that kind of worries me. But if they don't, what were they, a 70? Oh, here, I think I got it pulled up. Let me just get to it. 78 and 84. They could have easily, if they would have just played baseball the way they should have, they could have been around 90 wins. And they should have been. Now, would that have won it? No. Guardians still had 92 wins, but they're in the mix now. They just kind of faded away in September, and October was just not there for them. So
yeah, it's I'm with you. Guardians win, but I think that race will come down to at least the final 2 weeks of the season, if not the final week. So we got them winning the division. I guess let's move on to the AL East. Ultra competitive division. You have the Yankees, who won it last year. Got the Toronto Blue Jays, all those young bats, and they upgraded that pitching. I love them getting Gossman from the Giants. That is an awesome move for them.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Orioles. So they didn't make any moves, but we know they have a lot of young talent on that Orioles team. And then the Tampa Bay Rays, you can never count them out.
Nope.
And then the Boston Red Sox, they made some sneaky good moves. I would have liked to see them keep Sander Bogarts, but I guess they didn't want to pay him what the Padres were throwing out there. More on them in a minute, of course. But but the Red Sox kind of made a few sneaky moves, and they'll be competitive as well. Do you see anyone knocking off the New York Yankees in the American League East?
Yeah, actually I do. I actually have Toronto winning this division this year. I like you said, I like what they did with the pitching staff. They have a young lineup, and honestly, these two pitchers that they got with the starter and the reliever, I really do think that this makes up for some of the games that the separation between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. So I actually have the Blue Jays winning this division this year.
Okay, man. You know what? That is a good pick. So I went. I'm gonna have to pick the Orioles.
Oh, dude, you know how I feel about it. I wanted to.
Nah, man. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick the Yankees to win the division. I was right there with you with Toronto because I love the Gossman addition. I think that solidifies their starting pitching so much.
Yeah.
Can Vlad Guerrero Jr., can Bo Bichette, can George Springer, can they stay healthy throughout? That's the thing. I mean, Vlad, he had to sit out the spring training and stuff. So hopefully he can come back for the Blue Jays' sake. If they are able to get that health, they're going to be right there. I mean, I think they'll be neck and neck. I think the Yankees, they'll win 95 games. Yeah, most likely, because we know they'll hit. But they're pitching. That's always the question for the Yankees. Last year, I feel like they kind of pitched over their heads.
That won't happen again.
That is the question. Will you get Nestor Cortez looking like the best pitcher in baseball at points? Because he did. He for that early part of the season, that dude was close to no-hitter status almost every start.
He didn't. He was, I think, for the first 2 months, I think he had a less than 1 ERA. I think it was like crazy low. Now, those last 2 months, when the Yankees couldn't win a game to save their life, I think he went like 6.5. But I agree with you. I think they pitched over their head last year, and I had the Yankees winning last year because I felt their lineup would carry them through. It wasn't their lineup that carried them through. It was just, hey, congratulations to me for picking them, but it was their pitching that made it through. I don't think their pitching carries them through this time, and I don't think their hitting carries them through. I just don't. I think I think teams are going to look at this Yankees team and they're going to say, yeah, you're gonna swing for a home run. Fantastic. I'm going to pitch you low and ends outside and see what you can do with that.
Yeah, and that's what you should do. I mean, if you got a team that's going to be home run hunting all the time, you stay away. Mm-hmm. And just watch the Houston Astros game tape and you should be all right. Now, Granted, not a lot of people have the pitching the Astros have, but
stay low and away, and they're not hitting home runs. They're hitting ground balls.
Yep, you just gotta have that and have that filthy movement that the Astros have with those pitchers too. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll stay. I'll stay with the Yankees. Now, here's the thing with the Yankees though. A lot of their pitching is beginning the season injured. I think they got Rodon hurt, Luis Severino. What else is new? Hate to put it that way, but the dude's always hurt. And Frankie Montes, he's hurt too. So the Yankees will have some questions with that pitching rotation starting off.
Still going with them?
Huh?
And you're still going with them?
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with them because I think the lineup, when
spoiler alert. Let me tell you something. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna have to make the playoffs.
Okay, so look,
so there's that. So
here's the thing, man, because the Yankees, when you start off the season, it's a weird dynamic in baseball. The hitters probably have more of an advantage. It's crazy how that works sometimes. But the hitting actually has a little bit of an advantage because the pitchers, they have to warm up. They have to get going. They have to warm up those arms, make sure they get those arms used to pitching longer innings. Mm-hmm. And because of that, the stuff isn't quite as filthy as it normally would be. And when it's a little bit chilly, it's a little bit cold beginning in April and May, the hitters are fine. The pitchers, they got to be out there, and the stuff doesn't have the same stuff, the same juice that it would have. That's spider tat. But whatever.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it. That's the reason why.
Sticky gate, man. Sticky gate.
There it is.
But I think that will give the Yankees an edge. Look, Patrick, look, if the Toronto Blue Jays win that division, it would not surprise me at all. Toronto's got a loaded lineup, and I'm with you. I love that pitching. That's actually one of those divisions as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go throughout this season. Come down to the final couple of weeks. Baltimore is still going to be pretty scrappy. And, Tampa Bay and Boston, they're going to be scrappy too. This is going to be a tough division to win. And if one of these other teams, look, I'll say this. I mean, whoever doesn't win the division, I have one of those wild cards going to them. So, I mean, I
got a wild card going to that division as well.
Well, speaking of that, let's pick out these three divisions or the three wild cards, and then we'll move on to the National League. So who's your three wild cards?
So, as I said, spoiler alert, I don't have the Yankees making it to the playoffs this year.
You sound like me from last year. I was like, man, the Yankees ain't doing nothing, and then they win.
I just don't. This division is so much stronger than it was last year, right? But I do feel that I do have two other ones coming out of this division. So, with that being said, as I got the Toronto Blue Jays winning the division, I have the Tampa Bay Rays making a wild card, and surprise, surprise, I got the Baltimore Orioles, So I got the Yankees and Boston not even making it to the playoffs this year.
So you have two 2 of the wild cards coming out of the American League East.
Yeah.
All right. Who's your last one?
One is the Seattle Mariners.
All right.
I really want to go Texas, man, but I just don't think DeGrom, as much as a good addition that is to that pitching staff, it's still not enough to win. You know, and on top of that, he's going to have to come in. He's going to have to win 20 games just to even come close to making it to third place. You know what I mean? So this is based off last year's stats. I mean, they only won 63 games. So even if he comes in, he wins 20 games out of, say, let's say 25 games he pitches or whatever he pitches. That's still not enough to beat the Seattle last year. And that, like I said, I'm just going on games based on that. I want to go Texas. I want to see them add another pitcher. And if they do, then I would probably be like, oh, yeah. If they could get another ace to solidify in that starting lineup, they would be hard to beat. Because they have the hitting. They just got hit. They just need one more pitcher. If they have one more pitcher or even a closer to close those close games that they lost last year, they would be even better, right? But that Seattle team has good pitching. That Seattle team has good hitting. They are a scrappy bunch. Seattle is like a St. Louis Cardinals that is in the National League. They're that scrappy, and you just can't count them out right now. So I got Seattle.
So it's Tampa Bay, Baltimore, and Seattle. Those are your wild cards. Okay. I got Toronto winning one of these wild cards because I have the Yankees winning the division. I have Toronto winning the wild card. I have Seattle winning a wild card, and the third team I still don't know. Could be Tampa Bay, could be Baltimore, could be Texas.
Could be Chicago.
It could be Chicago. So I'll say this about in the AL Central: if you don't win the division, I don't think anybody's getting that wild card. Like that's kind of how I feel about it. I think the depth in those other two, in the East and the West, man, I think it's just too much for whoever does not win that division. I just think it's too much for them to overcome. With that said, man,
gotta have a third one.
I'm going to the Orioles. Give me the Orioles. I'm gonna go to Orioles, man.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay. I mean, now and then you know me. I'm normally the person who's like, dude, you're not gonna go against Tampa Bay. They're just like the the proven product there. Mm-hmm. I love Baltimore scrappiness, man, and those young players. Another year together playing. I like Baltimore. It's a ever so slight edge over Tampa Bay, and just a little bit higher than Texas too. It's still, I'm with you with Texas. Just a couple of question marks. You just have to see, number one, Jacob deGrom. He's got to stay healthy. One of these days, he has to stay healthy. If he does, then that's a solidifier to that pitching staff and the hitting for the Rangers. Can they get something off? Can they be consistent on the bottom of the lineup? I think Corey Seager, Marcus Semien are gonna hit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they're gonna hit. Adolis Garcia, he's gonna hit. Nathaniel Lowe, he's gonna hit. Can you get enough from 5 to 9? Can you get enough from those guys? Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if I'm confident enough to say that. So yeah, dude, I'm going Toronto, Seattle, Baltimore for my wild card.
Like it.
All right, man. I like yours too, man. I like you having Toronto win the division. It's not even making the play.
I just think they're going to be the better team. I just do. they are a solid team. I got them.
Well, Patrick, so we got to be a little bit quicker, because you know how we get when it comes to baseball and stuff. Just talking. We got to be a little bit quicker with the National League. So with that, let's start in the American League East. Or the National League, excuse me, since the Phillies are in that division and they came out of the National League. So we'll just get right to it, man. Loaded division, looks pretty good. Before we get to those top three, which of course would be the Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, and the Phillies, the Marlins have a lot of good young talent. The Nationals, they're still kind of on a rebuild, but they're just redeveloping their farm system. And I think some of that young talent will start to show out as the season goes along. Agreed. Not enough to compete for that division, but you can tell they have some building blocks there in Washington.
Yep.
So with that, we know what the Phillies did in terms of their run, but the Braves won the division last year as well. So do the Atlanta Braves win the division, in your opinion, again?
Yes, I have the Braves winning this division. And the Braves lost a few players. You know, Dansby Swanson is gone now, but we loaded with a fantastic shortstop that's very Dansby Swanson-esque. It doesn't have the bat that Dansby has, but
the talent jumps off the page.
The talent jumps off the page for this team. And yeah, I got Atlanta winning.
I'm with you. I got Atlanta winning. You know the Mets are going to be hyped. They got Justin Verlander to pair with Max Scherzer to make up for the Jacob deGrom loss. For me, I just think the Braves are the most well-rounded team still, and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs. But I still think they're the pitching complete, hitting's complete. Like you said, the Dansby Swanson loss to the Chicago Cubs, tough loss for sure. But the Braves with that farm system, they're fine. They'll be okay. The Mets, can they get enough hitting? And their bullpen, can their bullpen step up? That's the question with the Mets. Yeah, they got the two bona fide starters, but who do they have behind? Who's your three? Yeah, who's your three? Who's your four? And is that bullpen good? Oh, and they lost Edwin Diaz for a lot of the year.
Yeah,
celebrating with Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. Oh God, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
and then the Phillies. Go ahead.
That is a heck of a pitching staff if you had Diaz in there too.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, that's a solidifier for the bullpen if he's in there. The Phillies, they're dealing with they lost Rhys Hoskins for the year. I think he tore his ACL. That's a big loss. And Bryce Harper isn't in the lineup right now either. So Philly, he had Tommy John surgery, right? Yeah, so
Bryce Harper out for a year too.
Yeah, so my goodness, so Phillies, it's pretty rough there. Yeah, right. Pretty rough for them there. But I'm with you, man. I got the Braves winning the division as well. Let's go to the West. Let's go to the National League West, and you have the Padres loading up to get Bogarts to join the lineup that will have Juan Soto, Manny Machado. He's locked up long term, and they'll get Fernando Tatis back in that lineup as well. The pitching with Yu Darvish actually looking like an ace again, along with
How can he do that in Texas?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But
we won't.
But he solidified his career there once he got to San Diego. And then the rest of the teams, the Giants, they'll be scrappy. I don't know if they have enough to compete with those two teams, but they'll be scrappy. We mentioned the Diamondbacks with their farm system starting to develop, and kind of the same thing with the Colorado Rockies. So the Dodgers won the division. Of course, the Padres knocked the Dodgers out in the divisional series. Do the Dodgers win this division again to you, or do the Padres rise up and win the division?
Well, I've picked the Dodgers for the past 3 years, and I'm going to go against it this year. Actually, I got the Padres winning the division this
year. The Padres, they added, and the Dodgers kind of subtracted. They lost both Turners. Those are big losses. They lost Justin Turner and Trey Turner. Trey Turner's now with Philly. Yeah. And so anybody can withstand it. It is the Dodgers because you still have Mookie Betts. You still have Freddie Freeman. If the pitching stays healthy, that pitching rotation is as deep as it gets. Walker Buehler. Yeah, and they don't even have Walker Buehler right now. He's gonna we'll see how his surgery heals and if he's able to come back later on in the season. But you have Dustin May coming back. You know, Kershaw is still solid. Urias is still solid. Gosselin, he's coming back too. That Dodgers pitching rotation is sick if help. But yeah, I'm with you. I do think the Padres will rise up and win this division. The hitting that they will have, along with that pitching. I mean, look, they're going for it. They're trying to cash in with this World Series, and they're making smart moves. Looks like it's a lot of money moves, but they're good moves. They are good moves.
They are very good moves. So yeah, I got
the Padres.
I got the Padres, but this is what I want to say about the Dodgers before we move to the next division. As good as that pitching staff is, they're going to lose close games. And unfortunately, they're going to be close games like 1-0, 2-1, 3-1, because they're not going to be able to score. I just don't see them scoring like they should. Now, there's going to be games where they win those games, because of that pitching. But this is where I fear all the time when I talk about the Dodgers. Can the management of those pitchers be effective? Hasn't been in the past. Has been throughout the season, but it hasn't really been able to take effect in the playoffs. So let's see what that pitching management looks like. But I got
Yeah, Dave Roberts talking to you.
Yeah.
Who do you have in the Central?
St. Louis Cardinals. Why would I go any other way?
I know, right? Proven product, right?
Tried and true.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Of course, it's one of those things you're going back and forth between them and the Milwaukee Brewers, because the Brewers are still very good. But yeah, I'm with you. St. Louis should win that division. Now, how many wins they have? I think it'll be around 89, 90 wins. And the Brewers will be right there with them, maybe a game or two behind. The Chicago Cubs are coming. I will say that about the Cubs. You get Dansby Swanson to join that lineup with the young talent they have. I think the Cubs are coming. Pittsburgh, they just can't get right. So I don't know what to expect from Pittsburgh. And Cincinnati, same thing. Don't know what to expect from Cincinnati either. So I think it's a two-horse race there between St. Louis and Milwaukee. The Cubs, I think, will be better. I'll give them another year. I think next year the Cubs will be ready to really do something if they're able to keep some of that talent together. But yeah, simply put, like you did, St. Louis. Who's your 3 wild cards?
Well, this is where I struggled a little bit with my third one. So I have the New York Mets and I have the LA Dodgers. This is a hard one. This is a really hard one because, like you said, Philly, with them losing the people they lost, they were kind of really in that third spot. And then they lost their players that they lost, and they lost them for a year. So they've lost lineups and they lost pitching, right? So that really brings them down with 3 teams that I really kind of like, okay, how's that going to go? And those 3 teams was going to be the San Francisco Giants, Milwaukee Brewers, and the Philadelphia Phillies. So this one's a hard one, but I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers because of what Philly has lost, and the Giants, you can't rely on them to stay healthy. You just can't. I mean, and Taylor Swift hasn't put out an album yet, so.
Yeah.
Well, actually, she did put one out this year, so who knows?
Look out, right? Look out for the Giants.
I got the Milwaukee Brewers. I just think they're a little bit more of a by default team. I think they have just enough to get past those 2 to make it to the playoffs.
I'm with you on all 3. I was going to have the Mets. I was going to have the Dodgers. And I'm with you with the Phillies because, yeah, if the Phillies were able to stay healthy and stuff, I think that would have been your third team there as well. But with the injuries they have to the key personnel, I don't trust that pitching enough. With Nola, you have Nola. I forget the other guy who they have starting. He's good too.
But it's the only two they have.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know if they can get enough pitching behind those guys. It's kind of like the Mets, honestly. The two starters, beast. But
Zach Wheeler.
Yes, that's him. Yep, Zach Wheeler. So you just, I don't think you can get enough from those guys or behind those guys to pull them through. So yep, I'm with you there. Mets, Dodgers, and the Brewers, and there's your picks for baseball's regular season. That's what we got. Y'all go ahead, y'all leave those comments and let us know who y'all got, and also with the Final Four too. Now, Patrick, before we get out, I want to talk about your boy Stephen A. Smith a little bit, and this is where we're going with this. So here's the thing.
I tried to take up enough time. Sorry, guys. I tried to take up enough time.
No, was it going to work? No,
it wasn't. Okay. Well, sorry.
Moderator.
You have to deal with it anyway.
Gotta moderate it, man.
Moderator has already made the call. Sorry.
Well, it won't be too bad, man, because this is where we're gonna go with it. So check this out. So you remember Dan Le Batard, right? I know you heard of him. Okay. So Dan Le Batard came through and said, basically, I got the quote right here. I will say the quote. He said, this is about Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. I hate what you two have done to sports television. That was his quote.
Up on my like list.
Yeah. That's what Dan Le Batard said. Now, on the context of what he said, Patrick, it's probably, I'm not the biggest fan of Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless, as you know, and y'all have heard me say that on this show, and Patrick has definitely said it on the show. We're not the biggest fans of these guys. We think they're blowhard, big mouth dudes. Okay, with that said, Dan Le Batard's comments toward them, they're probably a little bit misplaced. This is why I say they're a little bit misplaced. Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were basically doing what the bosses at ESPN wanted at the time. So if you're going to be upset at somebody, it needs to be at the bosses at ESPN, because they're the ones who push that embrace debate mantra. And that Stephen A. Skip Bayless combo, that was a happy accident. They weren't always together. As a matter of fact, Skip Bayless was on the show more than Stephen A. was, and then Stephen A. was a guest host, and then they yelled at each other. And then they wrote that out. And that's where First Take came out. First Take wasn't even the first debate-based show. Of course, you know what show that was, Patrick. That was Pardon the Interruption with Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. And what Stephen A. and Skip Bayless did was they got really, they drove into that embrace debate movement. And now it's a bunch of clickbait. It's a bunch of let's just spew hot lava takes, garbageness all over the place. And ESPN rode that wave. But that's on the bosses. That's not on them per se. Now, Dan Le Batard, he really can't say much. He had a show on there, highly questionable, remember, with his dad on there. And he had Bomani Jones, who went and he got his own show on ESPN. Or not on ESPN, excuse me, HBO. He's got his own show on HBO.
When did he get that?
He's had it for a little bit, man. But yeah, he's on HBO. Don't worry, we'll be there soon. We'll be on Showtime.
Showtime.
It's okay. It's
all right. I want Showtime, and you know where you are.
I think it's called. It might be called Game Theory. I think is the name.
Oh, I didn't know he was the host of that.
He's the host. Yeah, Bomani Jones is the host. Yeah. So
that's good for him.
So good on him, right? And so, like, you look at this. So the bosses, going back to the bosses, and this is where it's getting interesting because I'm about to just name check all these dudes. You look at Microsoft. We'll go to your industry, Patrick. You look at Microsoft. Bill Gates, Paul Allen, is what they were looking for, what their vision was. You look at Apple, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, the CEO now. What they trying to do? Yeah, exactly. Google. And look, don't worry, we're gonna see y'all face to face one of these days too.
Yeah,
you're gonna want to.
Y'all need to recognize
my man, Sundar Pichai. Now, if I said his name wrong, I'm sorry. You can just take it out of my check. Hold him
accountable, not me. We
take it out of my check later. Fine. Susan Wojcicki, CEO of YouTube. Yep, it's their vision. It's what they're looking for. So it was Dan Levitard saying that about Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Look, say what you want about how they do their stuff. Of course, we don't like it. We're not the biggest fans of it. But what they did was ride that wave of what ESPN wanted with that, the embrace the debate. Yeah. And then Skip Bayless goes to Fox Sports 1, and now he's got Undisputed with Shannon Sharp. So they just rode that wave off of what their bosses wanted. So if Dan Levitard's comments are going to come towards sports television, it has to be on those bosses. Oh, and one more thing, Patrick, and then I'll be pretty much done, and then you can have the floor.
Okay.
We have to know the difference between journalism and entertainment. If Stephen A. Smith comes onto the show and says, my sources told me something, that's journalism. That's not what they are doing a lot of times. What they are doing a lot of times is entertainment. It's a debate-based show. We cannot get those lines.
ESPN?
Huh?
What does the E stand for in ESPN?
Entertainment.
My point is
absolutely, yes. Programming network.
Yep. That's
what it is. Or Entertainment and Sports Programming Network is what ESPN stands for those who didn't know those acronyms. But yes. What they are doing is entertainment. That's not journalism. And it's important we don't blur those lines. But I think a lot of it gets blurred because they are doing that debate-based show on a sports station. And ESPN was supposed to be a journalistic station. That's not what they really are anymore. Do they have journalists working there? Yes, they do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what Stephen A. Smith and what Skip Bayless was doing before he went to FS1, that's not journalism. That is entertainment, debate-based stuff. Fake debates. Okay, I'm just all right. I didn't want to get on it.
So here's my take on it, and a lot of people, like I've voiced it very bluntly on this platform, that I am not a huge fan of Stephen A. Smith. Right? I want to make something very clear. I'm not a huge fan of what they call entertainment. That's where now, like you were saying, the bosses pushing their agenda and doing what they're doing, I will never in my life fault Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith for doing their job, because that was what their job was, right? And I get it, and it's still their job. Look, your job is to do your job, period. What I have a problem with is when they kept calling themselves journalists when they weren't. That's where I had the problem with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Now they don't do it anymore. They call themselves sport analysts. And I still have a problem with that, because that's really not the job of an analyst, is to entertain, is to do your job as an analyst.
To break down the sport.
Whatever it is. Yeah. So they're really not breaking down the sport when they're constantly degrading people by telling them, oh, you're a horrible basketball player, or that is the worst showing of pitching I've ever seen in my life. Look, I get it, but the fact of the matter is that Stephen A. Smith needs to understand is he ain't doing any better. It's not his job to do any better, and he doesn't need to criticize like the way he does. And look, bro, we hear you. You don't have to yell at all of us. We do hear you. So that's my problem with Stephen A. Smith. He's not a bad guy. He's doing his job. But when I have a problem with it is when you call yourself an analyst, but you're not breaking down the sport. You call yourself a journalist, but you're not journaling the sport. You're just creating entertainment. And as long as you call yourself a sports entertainer, bro, I ain't got no problem with you at that point. None. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a journalist. Will never claim to be. I'm not a sports analyst. I'll never claim to be. But I am a sports entertainer. I'll leave the analytics to you, and I'll leave the journalists to you, because that's what you do. I will be here to help you with the whole show as an entertainment part. That's it. So that's what my job is, and I understand my job, and I'll call myself what I call myself, and that's it. So there's my take on the whole thing. I just wish Stephen A. Smith would learn that he's not a journalist and he's not an analyst. He's an entertainer. Call yourself an entertainer, do your job, and you move on with your day. Make your millions of dollars, but call yourself appropriately what you are. That's it.
And I think, and then that's the thing. So the thing with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless is they have journalism backgrounds.
Yeah, if they did their job, they would be fantastic at it.
Yeah, and so, but they got into the debate-based thing, and so going back to your point, and I was supposed to be done. I'm sorry, you just got me on another rant.
Hey, it's all right. Another time.
But the thing is, like you said, going back to your point, the journalism part, that's not what you're doing now.
Exactly.
Like what you're doing now is entertainment. Now, both of those guys, like Stephen A. Smith, he worked at the Philadelphia Inquirer for a lot of years. Skip Bayless worked in Texas with the Dallas Morning News for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so these dudes have that journalism, that gumshoe, cut your teeth journalism, where you have the old school newspaper, you would have your editorial session, and you just sit there, read it. I know. Look, for y'all younger people out there, yes, it's called a newspaper. I know y'all might not know.
Well, they're still there. You just swipe left.
Yeah, they just do it on the phone. Yes, or whatever tablet. Yes, absolutely. But yeah. So that's the thing. Just what you are right now is what you said, Patrick. They're entertainers. That is what they are doing. And when you come out and you have the takes or whatever you want to call them, that is solely your opinion or scripted opinion or whatever you want to call it. So I mean, I think
written by another person, entertainment or script, and you just follow the
right. So, hey man. So look, all right. Before I continue going on a rant, I'm gonna stop myself and say that concludes the Breath of Fresh Air webcast for this edition. Thanks for watching. Y'all make sure y'all go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and follow the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. We ran a little bit long for that one, but hey, look, man, lots of good stuff that we were talking about, and hey, we hope we kept y'all entertained. Y'all laughed a little bit while we over here, while Patrick's getting on me for being garbage for forgetting about the women's Final Four. So
hey, we got past it. We good.
All right, cool. Dominic, thanks for coming in there for a little bit, and for the rest of y'all, hey, hope y'all enjoyed the show, and don't be afraid to leave those comments, feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. Until next week, y'all take it easy, and we'll talk to y'all soon.